Hey friends, so every week I'm trying to bring you something cool and useful and unique. And what I decided to share with you this week is a digital painting tutorial. I do hope you enjoy it. Hey friends, so today we're going to talk about hair. We're going to talk about how to paint hair. And so I've got this sketch. I sketched this a while back. And it's really just something I kept really loose. I never finished it, and I thought this might be a good example, a good thing to use to be able to talk through different types of materials and things. Lots of things going on here. That's why I thought it would be a good example to use. We've got a lot of cool things going on. We've got metal texture here. We've got skin, obviously. We've got some fabric as well, like leather and things like that. We've got hair, obviously, and liquid and glass as well up here, like reflective, like porcelain kind of thing. But today what we're going to focus on hair. And even though I've already kind of started this off, I think it's in a good place where I could kind of talk through some things and then maybe just kind of continue on in that process. And I hope that this kind of helps clarify or just helps you understand some of these materials a little bit better. So again, a lot of really cool different things going on in this drawing. But today we're going to focus on the beard and the hair and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We've got like a mustache and beard all here, and then his hair as well. So it's a lot going on. And so I'm going to kind of go through the process on how I break this down. First and foremost, the way I would start this off, and I wish I had the layers for it, but let me go ahead and just do this here real quick, just to show you. The way I would have probably started is everything would have been the same, just one solid color. That's how I would have started the whole thing. Now, in regards to this, I'm not going to really talk about drawing today. So how you draw and your shapes on this is also important, so that the hair has shape to it. In the right ways, in the right areas and stuff. But today I'm just gonna talk about painting and how I would approach it. So I just wanted to quickly show you. This is more or less, I would have just had it like this, just all one color. This is how I would have started. And then from there, I start to break it down. Now, if you look at even here, just this, what I have here, I've broken it down right now into 3 main sections. I've got a let's see here. Let me see if I can outline it with my notes here. Let's see. I've got this here. That's not showing up too well. Yeah, I'll just do it in black. I like using colors to kind of differentiate, but I've got this right here. I've got this like highlight color right here. So that's one. I've got that light. I maybe got some of it right there. Then the second breakdown I have is this here. Let me see if I could just use a different color. I just want to be able to separate it for you. There you go. The second one I've got is this, which is like a middle range or a mid-tone. Okay, and then the last one that I have, maybe green. The last one that I have is this down here. It's a little bit darker. And so I'm basically saying this lighter part, this is where the light is really hitting it the most. This is a middle, like a middle range. And then this is where it starts to get darker down here. And this is how I kind of break it up. And so if I just go in and start kind of like painting a little bit more, you'll kind of see the thinking behind that. So if I fill this in, I'm just saying that the light is coming from the top left of the screen. Maybe it's kind of peeking around the other side of this nose. So you're seeing a shadow here. And the light is it's coming up this way over it. And hitting here. And then you know what I think? I think because this here is I think that this down here would probably catch some light. So I didn't do this originally, but yeah, I think that this would catch some light as well. And then right underneath here, this is where the mustache ends. And it kind of meets. You have to think about the beard and the mustache. It's not all just one thing. Although right now it kind of looks like it. Again, this wasn't finished. So underneath here, you would have, similar to this down here, you would have some darker shadows under here. And this is to help separate the mustache from the beard. So there you go. And I'm kind of just going to run through this quick so that it's not a super, super long video. You might be able to, depending on the style that you're going for, what you're trying to do, you might be able to like add some skin under here and stuff like that. But for the sake of simplicity, I think I'm just going to keep this all hair. Realistically, you might still see some skin under there, but again, keeping it simple. So under here, there's going to be, I'm trying to separate the mustache from the beard. And so this is going to be tucked away in here, and then this is going to catch light. The reason for that is, see if I can do, let me see, maybe this way here, and then using a different brush. The reason for that is you want to think about this as planes. So the mustache, if you look at it this way, let's say that this is your mustache, right? I'm not drawing the exact same, but let's say this is your mustache. And then let's say, for the sake of like simplicity, let's say that this is your beard. You want to think of it as planes. Things that are facing up and then things that are facing down. So think of it like this. You want to have wrap around everything, okay? So this is why painting spheres and painting basic shapes is so important. And this is how you apply, because you might be thinking, okay, I know how to paint a ball, but now how do I apply what I learned when you taught me how to paint a sphere? How do I apply that to a character? And this is one of the ways that you do that. And so you might be thinking, this might be wrong here. Might be something more like that. And so you might be wondering, what is this guy doing? If you picture this, the beard and the mustache, you want to think of it as planes like this. And so up top, you're going to have, let's see if I can get this right. So as the light hits up here, this is all going to be light up here. And this part up top is also facing upwards. It's like a plane that's facing up. This is also going to catch some light. Okay, think of it like a ball. So this is also going to catch light, but then down here, that's an ugly color, but down here you're going to have the shadow. This is the plane that's facing towards the bottom. I hope this is making sense. So again, if you think about it like as a ball, think about it as a ball. The light is hitting up here. And then you have your shadow down here. So imagine if you put another ball on top. The light is going to hit up here and you're going to have a shadow down there. And so you're kind of breaking down the beard and all of this stuff here in the same way. And then down here, it's going to get even darker. It's going to be even darker down there. You know, and then from there, that's where you start to kind of blend in, you know, and kind of incorporate other colors and stuff. And you obviously blend this in as well. That's not the right color. It's not the right color, but you get my drift, right? That's where you start to blend. But this is the kind of thinking that you want to be doing when you're painting these things. You're constantly thinking about what's facing up, what's catching the light, what's what do you call it? What's facing down, like what's not getting any light, all that kind of stuff you want to take into consideration when you're painting. So I hope that makes sense. Let me go ahead and continue on here a little bit more. So again, in here, I'm gonna go just a little bit darker and give that mustache even more shape. I feel like this might come over a little bit more. Okay, and then this might come down just a little bit more. And then it kind of tapers off over here. Then here, because it's starting to get away from the other, like from the light, then I'm just gonna kind of soften that up and fade it out a little bit. But I like the idea of, and again, if this was a real painting, I'd spend some more time with it, but I just want to kind of give you some instruction. I like the idea of this being on here on this side, a little, you know, being more, what do you call it? More contrasty, and then having it fade off on this side. That also helps create that illusion of light. Maybe introduce a little bit more red on here because he's got like that red hair. And so I'm just trying to soften that transition. I want contrast, but I don't want it to go like from this. You see this light color? What you don't want to do is go from this light color straight into this. That is what starts to make it feel unnatural. You see right now it's going in from this really bright color to this slightly darker, but there's a good amount of contrast there, and then it starts to taper off down into this down here. And you could soften this even a little bit more, but you don't want to, I don't like to soften it too much, because then it all looks very digital painted, you know, it doesn't have that natural brush-like feel to it. So just something like that. Again, this is not like a super polished, highly rendered image. This is probably something more like the style that you would see in like a children's book. It's a little loose and a little bit more rough. Want to just kind of change the shape of the hair there. Then also here, I don't like the way it just kind of, it's kind of like what we used to call like helmet hair. It's just too round and doesn't feel natural. So just wanted to add a little bit more of loose hairs like this. And I think that'll help. I'm not going to get into these other materials. I'm just kind of shaping that hair a little bit. So then now while it comes over to this side, let's see here. You could, it depends on how much you want to push the light over. You could say that maybe some of this is catching some light. I don't think I want to do that though. I don't know. I think I want to kind of keep the light mostly to that left side. And then on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my cool, like ambient light. And this is going to be a cooler color. And really, if you see what I did there, you see I had this color selected, the base color of the beard. Look at my my color wheel here. You see that? In order to get from this color to this color, I pretty much just kind of went down here on the color wheel. Okay? So in other words, instead of going from this color and then usually you'll click on like blue and you go up here like this and then you'll paint in blue. That it's just too much, you know? This right here feels more natural. And so sometimes I will jump straight over, like if I know for sure what color I'm trying to get. But for the most part, again, I start here and then I move down towards the color wheel, towards the cool side. If I'm trying to make it warmer, then I'm gonna slide over. So that way it's a more subtle transition and it's more natural kind of feel to it. In this case, I'm pretty happy with this color, so I'm gonna keep that. Okay, and then we'll taper it off on this side. We'll kind of soften it. Okay, so I'm going like with hard kind of hard edges here closer towards the light, and then I kind of soften it back this way, and then down here I start to get into like a little bit darker values, stuff like that. And then I also like to, for hair, if you see this here, I like to kind of break into it with the darker color. So you see that? Maybe break down here. Don't do it too much, but just a little bit. And then that kind of gives it that hair. This is how you kind of create, like fullness to that hair, like volume, without painting and realism, believability, without painting every single strand of hair. You know, in other words, you don't want to sit there and do this all day. Like, you don't want to go... I mean, that'll just take forever. And in the end, it usually just doesn't look very believable anyways. Or at the very least, like I said, this is more of that kind of animation, like kind of cartoon style art. And I just like these kind of results a little bit better. I like this kind of approach. So again, this is just my approach on how I do hair. So that's how it is. It's pretty much, as you see, I'm just kind of playing within these three things, these three sections. The very bright highlight, which is this up here, somewhere in the middle, and then my darker areas. And I'm just thinking of this as one whole big shape. Let me see if I can, with my notes brush up here. And green tends to stand out pretty nicely. So again, I'm just thinking of it this, instead of even doing this here, I'm just going to make it I'm just thinking of this as one big shape. Okay? I'm thinking of this as one big shape. And this isn't super accurate, but the idea is to show you sorry, kind of like getting a little lost here in the idea that I'm trying to explain to you is this down here is catching the shadow. Okay? And then this up here is what's catching the light. And then off to this side is, this starts to fall into shadow as well. Okay, so that's kind of like, that's basically where I want you to stay within that kind of frame of thinking. Then here you could also, as I mentioned before, you kind of break into these a little bit just to create the illusion of hair. And then down here you can kind of break into this here as well a little bit. Maybe these can break out a little bit. And again, I don't like to overdo it too much. And maybe soften some areas. And this is going to be really like anything else, the more that you practice it and the more that you study hair, the more that you're going to kind of get a good feel for this. Now this down here, again, I'm keeping these shapes very, very simple. but I don't want it to feel. I want it to be cartoony, but I don't want it to feel like too like unnatural. So I'm just kind of softening this down here. And then I don't want to get into the clothes and all that, so I'm kind of a little hesitant towards. There's something that happens with the light, which is occlusion, and it's gonna help us kind of shape where the clothes meet the bottom of this beard. But I'm not gonna get into that today. I just wanted to kind of talk about hair. But this is pretty much it right here. I hope that you kind of found this helpful. This eyebrow up here, I think I want to add. I don't want the eyebrows to be this color here. I want them to be darker. But you could still give it just a tiny. Again, this is hair, so this isn't gonna be shiny, reflective like metal or like a glass cup. So if you see here, like. This is the darker part facing away from the light, and then this up here is the lighter part. It's very subtle and soft, but that's all you need, at least for this kind of hair. Again, then you have like different types of hair, which is a whole other ball game. If his hair wasn't so frizzy and rough the way I want it to be, you could then, if it was more silky, kind of smooth, straight hair, you could add a little bit more of this kind of stuff, you know? And then at that point, that's more of like a preference thing. I don't really want to go shiny like that with his hair. I want it to feel more rough. So I'm going to eliminate that. I could still probably push this though a little bit. Let me see, a little bit further. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to push it too far, but you could. Again, it all depends on what texture, what type of hair you want your character to have. This up here, they could be, again, and then you could adjust how intense do you want this light to be that's hitting the character. And so you could push these a little bit brighter, and that's not the right color there, but let's see if I can get it. Yeah. So again, it just depends on how close the light is. Is he standing under a lamp, some sort of a light that's right above him? Is this just sunlight? Is it direct sunlight? Is it kind of like middle of the afternoon sunlight? Is it so what time of day is it? All of those things are going to affect the intensity of your lights and your shadows and things like that. So yeah, something like that is something that I'd be pretty happy with. I'm okay with that. Like I said, there's so much more other stuff to address, but simply focusing on hair for today, I think that's pretty much it. One last thing that I do like to do is I'm going to use a rough brush. And I'm going to bring the flow up to almost 100. And then let's see here. I'm going to keep those brights, those bright highlights. And then on a separate layer, I like to make little strands of loose hair. And you want to kind of get the right, just like that, like you want to get, and again, this really just depends on the type of hair that your character has. But for this guy, I like having those strands. Even when it is straight hair, you could still do this kind of stuff. You don't want to like overdo it. And then even down in the center, like in these areas here, you can also kind of get some of those strands. Yeah. And again, I tell you, don't overdo it. Sometimes I overdo it myself. But yeah, a couple little strands like that, and it really kind of helps. This kind of feels too whiskery up here. I'm going to remove some of those. But yeah, that really kind of helps bring even more life to the hair and stuff. So I hope that you found this helpful. This is one way that I approach this. I'll do some more hair techniques. Maybe do something where I do like various types of various types of hair. So maybe I'll do something like that. But for now, as far as this character goes, that's pretty much, you know, what I would do. You could take it a little bit further and maybe soften some of these areas a little bit more. But for the most part, that's how I kind of break down hair and how I paint it. Again, I do want to go over some of these other things here, like these other materials. But for today, that's pretty much it. And I will see you guys on the next one.